Hi and welcome. Right, since I've changed the clutch hose on the Bandit, I thought it was time to change the front brake hose as well. It doesn't really need it, it's a braided line, but it's a little bit old, it's a little bit ratty, and yeah, okay, that's the style of the bike, but it bugs me slightly, so I'm changing it. And it's an excuse to change the brake fluid at the same time. So all simple things, and really replacing lines on bikes that don't have ABS is simplicity itself. It's no harder than bleeding. So let's get into it. Stage one is a good fitting screwdriver. It's always worth spending a bit of money to buy JS tip ones because they are the right ones for the screws. And if you do that, you'll get them out without mincing them. Right, so plastic plate, rubber diaphragm, keep it that way up, that way it won't leak to the wrong side of the diaphragm. And as you can see, yeah, it's about due for changing. It's going darker orangey colour, so time to get rid of it. Now we're changing the hoses, so we need to get rid of all of this. We're going to get air in there, so however you prefer. And clean out any debris you might find in the bottom there. Right, be prepared for spillage. Gives the air a good clean. Make sure we're going to have a nice clean mating surface so we don't get any leaks, and clean up any brake fluid that might have leaked out over your calipers. Right, get prepared for spillage because you will get a little bit of leakage out of here. And discard the line. Once you've decided the routing for your hose, you can attach the new hose. So use new copper washers. And do the same at the other end. Once you're happy with the alignment, just tighten them up. Don't overdo it. There are torque settings for these, but it's really not very much. And if you do is possible to actually snap them off. They're a hollow bolt, don't forget, so they're not as strong as a normal bolt. So there we go, new hose in place. That's all it takes. Now we just have to bleed it. It takes a little bit just to get the fluid into the line, but once you get it going, then you'll start to see air bubbles coming through. And once you've got some light, you can then start bleeding conventionally if you prefer. I like to do it this way. Once you've got some fluid into the line, the air does want to rise up the hose to the top where the master cylinder is. So it doesn't need much, and now I've got firm brake pressure, and I've not bled the brake from the bottom at all. That's absolutely rock solid. You can see there's still a little bit of air coming through. And you just need that tiny little push of the lever just to allow the air that's risen through the pipe to come up. And now I've got really firm pressure. I can just put it under pressure, get the air that's still in there to break down into tiny bubbles. And then there we go, just some very, very fine little bubbles coming through now. Really pump the system up hard. There, just a few micro bubbles, and that's it. So didn't need a bleeding tube, didn't need to get messy or anything like that, because there's already fluid in the caliper. So I may bleed the caliper just to be sure, to get any last air out of there out, but honestly this is so firm. It's absolutely rock solid. I will leave the lever tied up overnight just to deal with any remaining air, but really what I need to do now is put the cap back on and give it a test ride, make sure everything's working. Well, after I've topped it up anyway. Bear in mind these brake pads are not new, so you don't want to top it up fully. Otherwise, when you come to clean the brakes and push the pistons back in, it'll overflow the caliper. I'm going to spend a few more minutes just giving this a bit of a final bleed through, but there, I'm happy with that. So, changing brake hoses is simple skill, as is bleeding the hoses through. As you saw, my preferred method of bleeding hoses that are dry is to actually let the air rise to the top and up through the master cylinder. It works very well. As you saw, I've now got absolute complete brake pressure, absolutely really solid, no air in the system at all, and I didn't go nowhere near the bleed valve. No need. If you're bleeding it through because you're changing the fluid, yes, you'll need to use the bleed valve because obviously you need to get the old fluid out of the system. But when you're just filling up a hose, what you're effectively doing is letting the brake fluid drip down to the bottom of the hose and let the air sneak its way out the top. So easy to do. So don't be afraid to do it. And there you go. Great, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys again next time.